In the world of the UFC, we often see fighters dominating inside the octagon, but what if we told you that some of these stars were once standouts in other sports? From football fields to wrestling mats, many UFC champions have honed the skills in other sports before transitioning to the world of mixed martial arts. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating stories of UFC stars who have played and excelled in other sports either before or after entering the cage. Whether it's a former football player, a wrestling star, or an Olympic athlete, these pugilists bring a unique set of skills that have given them their edge in the UFC, and we'll explore how their backgrounds in other sports have helped shape their fighting style and contributed to their rise in the MMA world. So sit back and relax as we highlight some of the most impressive crossover athletes in UFC history. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more frequent content about your favourite fighters. We're looking to upload here at least once a week. Number 10. Conor McGregor, boxing. We're starting with an obvious one, but unless you've been living under a rock for the past 10 years or something, you've definitely heard about Conor McGregor's dip into the world of boxing with Floyd Mayweather Jr. back in 2017. Otherwise known as Mac, it was one of the most hyped up and talked about combat sports events of a generation, I suppose, and it was more than just a fight, it was pretty much a spectacle. Obviously, McGregor came into the fight as the UFC's lightweight and featherweight simultaneous champion of the world. He just enjoyed a ridiculous rise to superstardom, and he was pretty much one of the biggest names in the world of fighting at the time. Mayweather, on the other hand, was 49-0, multi-time world champion, undefeated throughout his career, and people wanted to basically find out if a UFC striker could hang in there with like a elite level boxer. Despite being 40 at the time, Mayweather was obviously the overwhelming favourite, but McGregor's unorthodox style, precision, power, speed obviously made the fight interesting, and a lot of UFC fight fans thought that McGregor was going to get the job done against arguably one of the greatest boxers of all time. Hindsight's a beautiful thing. The fight was scheduled for 12 rounds in a boxing ring under traditional boxing rules. In the early rounds, McGregor obviously hung in there. He looked to be landing not heavy shots or anything like that. Mayweather never looked in real danger, but McGregor was definitely landing with his jab. Showcased his ability to shoot from awkward angles, you know, that traditional kind of McGregor southpaw style. By the 10th round, his superior conditioning, his defence and his tactical prowess were just too much to handle for McGregor, and the referee stepped in and stopped the fight via a TKO. I'm not sure it was a TKO, but I suppose you've got to put a name on it. And despite being finished in the 10th, McGregor obviously earned a lot of props for stepping in there and hanging with one of the best boxers of all time. And I'm sure his reported $130 million paycheck for a night's work will have softened the blow of losing just a little bit. Number 9. Francis Ngannou, boxing. After a dominant reign in the UFC where he became the heavyweight champion of the world, Francis Ngannou ultimately decided to leave behind the UFC and pursue a career in boxing. Although a little bit surprising, it wasn't completely unexpected for Ngannou to leave the UFC, given that it came after a series of public disputes with Dana White and the organisation over fighter pay and contract negotiations. Ngannou had obviously expressed his frustrations publicly about the UFC not wanting to meet with these contractual demands, and ultimately decided to part ways with the company, leaving a bit of a sour taste in Dana White's mouth in particular. When his contract expired in early 2023, Ngannou ultimately went and looked for bigger challenges and higher paydays in the world of boxing. I mean, the guy was a killer machine. His power was ridiculous. I mean, anyone who's ever seen his knockout over Alistair Overeem, that one, will know just how much power the guy holds in his massive hands. And he shook the world in October 2023 when he announced that he was going to be fighting Tyson Fury, who was the WBC champion at the time, and it was just completely unexpected. Even more surprising was the fact that the fight went the full 10 rounds in Saudi Arabia, before Fury won by a split decision. A lot of people were absolutely disgusted by the decision. They thought that Ngannou would win the fight, especially considering that he knocked down the Gypsy King in the 3rd round. But I suppose that just goes to show that you can never really leave it to the judges to decide your fate. In a bid to bounce back, Ngannou then faced Anthony Joshua in the very same arena in March 2024. Although he struggled to hit the ground running in that bout, he got knocked out in the 2nd round by the Briton. It was an absolute haymaker. Ngannou ultimately made his return to the world of mixed martial arts last October with the PFL, securing a 1st round knockout over Renan Pereira, and he looks so much more content in the cage than he does in the boxing ring. Number 8. Ronda Rousey, WWE. Ronda Rousey's move to the WWE in 2018 marked a significant change in her career, transitioning from the brutal world of mixed martial arts to the scripted spectacle of professional wrestling. After dominating in the UFC and becoming the organisation's first ever female champion, securing the female bantamweight strap, Rousey's decision to move to the WWE came across as surprising and exciting for fight fans. Her MMA career was legendary. She quickly became a household name due to her impeccable grappling, particularly at armbar submission, which is patently known for. She also became a global icon as the first woman to headline a PPV TV event with the UFC. However, after she suffered that devastating head kick loss to Holly Holm in 2015 and a subsequent defeat of Amanda Nunes the following year, Rousey began stepping back from the UFC limelight. She had long expressed a love for professional wrestling, especially the WWE, and that transition basically seemed inevitable from the get-go. She made a debut at the 2018 Royal Rumble, sparking immediate excitement. Her arrival brought a massive boost to the WWE's women's division, attracting mainstream attention and drawing in fans from the MMA world. Her athleticism, charisma, and ability to perform under pressure came as a natural fit with the WWE. And in her first year with the promotion, she went on to capture the Raw Women's title, further solidifying her place within the company. Her move to the WWE allowed her to explore different avenues while still being a dominant force in the world of combat sports. It not only expanded her own career, but it also helped raise the profile of women's wrestling both inside and outside of the ring. Number 7. CM Punk, WWE. On the flip side, CM Punk's move from the WWE to the UFC in 2014 is one of the most bizarre in combat sports history ever. Punk, who was known for his charismatic mic skills and his rebellious persona in the WWE, had no mixed martial arts experience prior to deciding to obviously take up a career with the UFC. Real name Phil Brooks, his decision ultimately generated a lot of curiosity as to how a WWE superstar could fare in the world of mixed martial arts with no prior experience. And obviously acknowledging his drawing power and his unique appeal to the sport, Dana White was happy to oblige him. His debut came in 2016 where he was obviously faced off against Mickey Gall, and while Gall's obviously nowhere near championship level, he quickly outmatched Punk and submitted him in the first round, highlighting the immense challenge of transitioning from scripted wrestling to competitive MMA. Who'd have thought it? Punk's second fight came in 2018 where he faced Mike Jackson, ultimately beaten by unanimous decision. This was later overturned to a no contest because of Jackson testing positive for marijuana, but it still left Punk without a win to his UFC career. Although his career in mixed martial arts was pretty short-lived and far from successful, it drew a lot of attention to the UFC. Showing how a crossover between the UFC and professional wrestling could create intriguing storylines and spectacle, even if the fighter didn't perform at championship level. Number 6. Mike Perry, Bare Knuckle. Mike Perry's move from the UFC to big EFC in 2021 marked a new chapter in his career, one that was both exciting and a little bit controversial. Known for his aggressive fighting style, his heavy hands and his wild personality, Perry quickly became a fan favourite in the UFC, even if his record was a little bit inconsistent at times. After a series of ups and downs and a record spanning 14-8, Perry wasn't given a new deal when his contract expired in 2021. Followed a lackluster streak of performances, with Perry evidently happy to just stand and bang rather than trying to refine his approach to fighting. Meanwhile, his relationship with the UFC also seemed strained, leading to his departure. In August 2021, Perry signed for the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, a promotion that evidently suited his all-action style perfectly. The move seemed like a natural fit, as it allowed Perry to focus on his natural strengths, being his knockout power and his willingness to engage in brutal, fast-paced bouts. His debut for the promotion came against Let Me Bang Bro Julian Lane, in which he secured a dominant victory. Fast forward to 2025 and Perry's 5 fights unbeaten with the promotion, while he's also ventured into the world of normal boxing, taking on Jake Paul as a last-minute replacement for Mike Tyson last July, albeit he suffered a 6th-round TKO loss in that contest, and he probably would rather just not speak about it. Number 5. Greg Hardy, NFL. Contender Series alum Greg Hardy might be one of the lesser-known fighters on this list, but sports fans will know him from one of two avenues in particular. The 36-year-old made his UFC debut back in January 2019 when he was disqualified for an illegal knee over Alan Crowder, subsequently building a 7-5 record in MMA before being released by the organisation in March 2022. However, way before his UFC career, Hardy was a standout defensive end in the NFL. After playing college football at Ole Miss, he was snapped up by the Carolina Panthers in the 2010 NFL Draft. Known for his explosive athleticism and his ability to pressure quarterbacks, Hardy obviously earned a Pro Bowl spot in 2013 after a breakout season with 15 sacks. Following a string of personal matters, he was ultimately let go by the Panthers in 2015, and while a move to the Dallas Cowboys ensued, his performance ultimately declined further before his subsequent release, ending his NFL career prematurely. Number 4. Brock Lesnar, WWE. Brock Lesnar's transition from the WWE to the UFC marked one of the most notable and dramatic moves in the world of combat sports. Lesnar, who'd obviously gained massive amounts of fame and fortune with the WWE, decided that he wanted to try his hand at MMA, targeting the UFC as it was the biggest promotion in the world at the time, and still is for the record. The move ultimately piqued the interest of WWE and MMA fans worldwide, especially given Lesnar's background in collegiate wrestling. He was a national champion at the University of Minnesota, which gave him a solid foundation for MMA. However, his foray into the sport was still met with skepticism. Like Punk, many questioned whether a professional wrestler with no combat sports experience could really transition the world of MMA at the highest level. And for a moment it kinda seemed like the doubters had won. Lesnar made his UFC debut in February 2008, facing Frank Mir at UFC 81, a fight that he ultimately lost via a first-round knee bar. Showing grit and determination, he bounced back and won his next fight over Heath Herron, before dethroning Randy Couture at UFC 91 for the heavyweight title, doing it via a second-round TKO as well. mental. All in all, his combination of size, strength, and wrestling acumen made him an immediate force in the men's heavyweight division, and he was able to get his revenge on Mia in his next fight before defeating Shane Carwin and ultimately stepping away from the sport in 2011. It was a short but incredibly sweet career for Lesnar in the UFC, but my word, we haven't seen anything quite like that in a long time. Number 3. Brendan Schaub, NFL. Brendan Schaub's brief NFL career was all but a stepping stone for him on his way to becoming a well-known figure in the world of MMA and entertainment. Schaub, who played college football at the University of Colorado as a defensive end, initially had hopes of making it the professional leagues. In 2006, he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Buffalo Bills, but he was ultimately released during training camp. He was then picked up by Utah Blaze, where he played for a short period, and despite showing potential as a player, his interest in the sport simply began to wane. It soon after shifted to mixed martial arts, where he found a greater connection to his athletic abilities and his competitive spirit. While his NFL career was short-lived, it did provide him with invaluable experience and discipline that was needed in the world of mixed martial arts. After transitioning into fighting, Schaub became known for his time in the UFC, quickly becoming a heavyweight contender. Today, Schaub is a well-respected podcaster and comedian, and he often talks about his time in the world of MMA and football. Number 2. Stipe Miocic, baseball. Before becoming one of the greatest heavyweights in MMA history, Stipe Miocic, believe it or not, had a brief stint in baseball. Miocic, who grew up in a sports-oriented family, initially started showing a passion for baseball in his formative years in Euclid, Ohio. He played as a pitcher and a first baseman, showcasing his athleticism and competitive nature. He went on to play college baseball at the University of Akron and continued to develop his skills on the field. And while he was a talented prospect in the sport, he ultimately decided to transition to fighting. His background in baseball, particularly his hand-eye coordination, proved invaluable for his MMA career. And while his career in baseball wasn't as extensive as some of the other names on this list in their respective sports, it undoubtedly helped him perform at the highest level in the UFC. Thanks to his dedication to MMA, Miocic will go down as one of the greatest heavyweights in UFC history. Number 1. Alexander Volkanovski, rugby. Long before becoming the UFC's featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski had an interesting career in rugby. Growing up in Wollongong, Australia, I'm sorry if I butchered that, Volkanovski played rugby league as a young man, known for his toughness, agility and determination on the field. While his rugby career was mostly in the local leagues, where he played as a winger and a fullback, his physicality and work ethic were evident, and he quickly made a name for himself in the sport. However, as his rugby career ultimately progressed, Volkanovski quickly realised that his body type wasn't a great fit. Obviously, him being shorter and stockier wasn't well suited for the fast-paced and high-impact nature of rugby at the professional level. And at the age of 23, he decided to pursue a completely different career path in the world of mixed martial arts. His background in rugby, particularly his condition and mental toughness, proved to be a great background for MMA. Meanwhile, his experience in the sport helped shape his aggressive style and relentless pressure, two things that are also very beneficial to have in the octagon. His ability to withstand punishment, maintain pressure, and adapt to a highly demanding sport has made him one of the best UFC fighters of all time, eventually claiming the featherweight championship in the UFC and defending it 6 times before he lost it to Riley Tapuri last February. In 2025, the Great One has a record of 26-4 in MMA, including 3 notable wins over Max Holloway and an abundance of top-tier talents across the division. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more MMA content. Drop a comment below with your favourite fighter who transitioned from another sport, or let us know what you'd like to see feature next. Until next time, keep training, stay strong, and we'll catch you in the next one.